And welcome to another episode of Gamerheads. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76, and with me are my co-host Christian,
aka Fulgan,
and my co-host Blue,
aka Writer's View,
and filling in as our guest co-host again, Karrington.
Hey, aka Desert Fury 90.
Yeah.
It really does get us every time.
It didn't help. I remembered like halfway through either, so I only got like the tail end of it.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. This, instead of having a icebreaker, this kind of ties into our gaming news, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask this. I'm gonna play a little game, and you're gonna be using our little hey hand thing that the listeners can't see, but I can see at least. The game is going to be called Are You Smarter Than a Jeopardy Player?
Oh, no.
Should we have music too? You know, are you smarter than a Jeopardy player?
Wow.
We just hit with that. We'll just we'll play that in the background.
That on a loop.
Game goes, yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but there was a category, video game category. I think it was this past week of video games, and nobody got any of them right.
That's awesome.
So I'll ask the questions, and then you can do your hey thing, and I can acknowledge who hits their hey thing first.
Hey, listen.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'll tell you what the contestants also answered. So it's kind of funny. Are you guys ready? And
Do we have to give our answers in the form of a question?
No, you don't have to.
That's a good question, though. That was a good question.
Yeah, I thought so.
Or was it an answer? I don't know.
Do we have to give our answers in the form of a question? So, all right. Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Ready.
At home,
Freddy.
you can play along. All right. Here we go. This company's Infinity allowed you to play characters from The Incredibles and Cars, to name a few. Oh, gee, I gotta look down. I saw Blue first.
Disney.
Yes.
Or Disney. What is Disney? What is Disney?
What is Disney? Do you know what their answer was?
Yes, I do.
What?
The lady was like, what is Pixar?
Yeah.
Oh no. Close.
Close, but not quite. The next question. Morrowind, Skyrim. Wait, hold on. Let's stop.
Gotta clear the haze.
Gotta clear the haze. All right. Alrighty. Morrowind, Skyrim are iterations of this. Blue.
What is Elder Scrolls?
Oh, you are correct. Ooh. Their answer was, what is Dragon Age?
At the very least, at least he had like a Renaissance-esque type setting for both.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
true.
know,
That's
fantasy
true.
type setting.
That's true. The rest of them are yeah.
I'll give the boys a chance at these ones now.
Okay. All right. Here we go. In this classic video game of Joust, contestants were placed upon what are these birds? Yes, Christian.
What is an ostrich?
Yes.
Oh.
They did not have an answer.
Oh, man.
Yeah. There's like, at this point, I think they gave up. They're like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And then the last one I have, there was one that was a video one, but I obviously can't play that, but he did ask a question underneath it. But the last one here is a big game story of 2018, Karrington.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you finish. Big story of 2018. It could be anything.
Carrington just wanted to make sure he got one.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
A big game story of 2018 is Fortnite. This genre of games is where the winner is the last shooter, Karrington.
What is a battle royale?
That is correct. And yes, they didn't get that one either. They didn't even answer. They're just like,
really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. Like that one, I feel like you didn't have to really know even about video games. You're just like,
yeah.
Okay, last contestant, battle royale. So, they didn't get any of them right. The other question had to do with Destiny 2. So
I know my heart, and they practically gave it away.
I know
this franchise, from Halo's creator Bungie, what is it? It was obvious. They
Yeah.
only made one other game.
You know, his answer was, "What is Bungie?" I don't know. Or no, he said, "What is Halo?" That's
What
he
is
said.
Halo?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. And it's funny to me
That was
that
pretty funny.
if they would get other like pop culture questions right, how could they fail so miserably at video games?
Yes, I know.
That's
right?
just weird.
It seems so. I know. I wonder if like they go into this and they're like, nobody's gonna ask any questions about video games.
Yeah.
And then they get to kindergarten and they're like, oh shit.
Well, there was a few months ago, I believe, there was one. They were all football related questions, and nobody got any of them. Like, I felt bad for that, and because like one of them was super simple. Like, what is it called? Or this motion a receiver will do when they were or when they're catching a punt, so they don't get hit, and no one had an answer for it. And I'm like, that's a softball question. That's easy.
Unless you just never ever have watched a football game.
Yeah, or that. And so
Yeah,
now they're
but-
doing video games and no one got it. I was like, what is with this people?
That's true. But if they would have questions like, I don't know, like Greek mythology. No, I would know that. But like maybe Greek writers or something like that. I would be like, I don't know. Or, philosophical like minds of modern day or something. I'd be like, I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if they were
And most people
asking
are
questions
laughing at
like about like any of the Real Housewives or anything like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I feel like I have no idea. I don't know. And the people that watch that show are like, how could you not know that?
Yeah.
Right? Whenever they do like the kids edition of Jeopardy, I'm all over it because I'm like, I know this stuff. Test me.
Nice.
Carrington's on there. That would be a really funny skit where like a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a Carrington, and he's like, in your face. All right. Well, that was part of the news. I actually want to go into the rest of our news segment. I kind of wanted to, I don't know, have a light start to the show. The first news item that I have here is heartbreaking. TellTale closes its doors and lays off hundreds of people. That's insane. Actually, you know what? Looking at the history, though, like, I'm not sure if it really is. I mean, it's kind of, the writing was on the wall, just that they never admitted what was going on to their employees,
And that's what's really sad. A bunch of people lost out because of people much higher up, who were in control.
Yeah,
Did not
making
treat
them
that
work,
company
like,
right.
18 hours a day, like
Yeah.
insane to try to make deadlines. And then, like back in March, they let go like 25 people, I think, and they're like, nope, no worries, things are fine, things are fine. And their previous CEO quit about a year ago because he had gotten into arguments with people, because he got in arguments with the board, and the whole, I think, if I remember correctly, he said that the reason he got into fights is because he thought that, things were not going well. And they pretty much told him, no, things are fine.
Yeah.
So in light of all this, what are your guys' favorite TellTale games or TellTale moments throughout their history?
Somebody else go
I would
first.
say
I have one.
Batman.
Batman?
Yeah, Batman.
I love Tales from the Borderlands because that was free
yes.
with PlayStation Plus, Roger.
That was,
And
you're right. I haven't played
I
that one
played
yet.
through it, and I didn't have really high hopes. I didn't have high expectations either because I feel like the lore and just kind of universe and story in Borderlands is probably the weakest thing about it. But I really commend Telltale for being able to do something really interesting in that setting because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It is.
And
a
I
lot
love
of fun.
Loaderbot.
Oh, I was so sad. I actually failed him. I left him behind. And it broke my heart to do it.
No,
I know.
not Loaderbot.
But he was a great character.
He was.
What about you, Blue?
I would probably go with something quite different. They did a Wallace and Gromit's Grand Adventures back in like 2009. I think that's when it was, and it was just like kind of like a browser game, kind of a thing. But I love those little shorts that they do for Wallace and Gromit. I think they're so freaking funny. So that's what I would say would be my choice.
Nice.
Awesome.
I guess I didn't even know that. I'll have to, well, if I can get my hands on it, I'd like to play that game.
Yeah.
I think you should, but they did a very good job with that, with Wallace and Gromit franchise. I agree, it was fantastic.
That seems cool. I'm sad
my
that
favorite was that they did. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was
go
just
ahead,
gonna say real
Karrington.
quick. My favorite, they did the poker night at the inventory 1 and 2. It was just fun to play poker with some of your favorite video game characters and personalities.
Sam and Max.
Yeah, Sam and Max. One of the dudes from Penny Arcade.
Yep.
Heavy from Team Fortress 2.
Oh, yeah.
And the second one, you could play with the robot from Portal.
Portal?
Can't think of her name.
GLaDOS?
GLaDOS. And what's his face is also in it. Also
Wheatley?
a robot. Claptrap was in.
Claptrap. Oh.
Yeah, he was in the second one too. Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
from Borderlands. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sad that we're not going to see anything else out of TellTale because, like you said, Roger, there was a little bit ago where they came out with a statement where they said they were laying off a bunch of people and kind of scaling back their catalog of what they were developing because they were just announcing game after game, and I felt like it was never stopping. I was like, geez, how are they able to take on all of this? But now it seems kind of clear that they kind of weren't, and they were just overworking everyone. But they were halfway through a Walking Dead season, and they had a Stranger Things in the works, Stranger Things game. But that's just
right.
not going to come to fruition. But they did, I believe Netflix did say that they're giving it to another party, so it's possible that we'll still see that project manifest itself in some way.
Do you think that them getting all these licensed games maybe was the downfall because that cost so much money?
Maybe it was something like they were trying desperately to save themselves by getting all these licensed games.
Yeah.
And you would think like the companies that are not giving away these franchises, lending these franchises to these people, they would have some sort of maybe down payment of some sort, like, hey, we'll give you this much money to, go forward with this project. But I guess not.
Yeah. Apparently, TellTale was like operating by the skin of their teeth because apparently they had like one big investor that they were banking on, and then the investor backed out, and they were like, "Well, we got to shut our doors. That's it."
Jeez. Yeah, and the crazy thing is, they show up to work that day, and they're like, "Pack it up. You have 30 minutes. You're done."
Yikes.
Yeah, that's insane. So, I mean, I hope the best for all of them. I'm sure that they'll be able to move on to something else, but. Man, and I also heard that there was something where the way that they did it was against law. So, like, there's lawsuits now happening. So, crazy.
And props to other companies stepping in to try and help out all those people who lost their jobs, like Ubisoft, 2K has stepped in, and someone else in the San Francisco area. I can't remember who, but there was like 2 or 3 companies that all were like, "Hey, here's a open meeting for all those who lost their jobs. Come see us."
It's awesome.
That is awesome. Ryan Reynolds is in video game news. He is going to be playing a video game NPC in a game that he realizes he's a video game character, and he is trying to convince the studio to stop them from shutting down the game.
So he's playing Deadpool?
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I always see commercials, I think mostly on YouTube, of Ryan Reynolds in this mobile game called Toon Blast. Do you guys ever see these commercials?
No.
No,
I do not.
It starts out as like a fake celebrity rehab thing where he's like, I just start and I can't stop, just like everyone else in Hollywood. It's so bad. It's all I want to do anymore. And then it shows him playing this mobile game that's like Candy Crush.
Oh, dumb. But I think that's pretty, that's, it's kind of interesting that we have a situation with, and it's obviously not TellTale's not the only company, but there's been a lot of companies that have been kind of, closing doors as of late because of things happening or funding's not there, and make a character in a video games saying, "Oh, I don't want the game to be shut down because otherwise, my world is shut down." I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Rocksteady is rumored to be making a Justice League game.
Oh, that's it, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is cool. I mean, there was rumors that they were going to make a Superman game, but now apparently they're thinking about doing a Justice League game.
I heard those
If anyone can pull it off, it would be Rocksteady.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, I will say I'm not a huge fan of Superman. In fact, out of all the superheroes, I would say that Superman's my least favorite superhero.
Thank you. It's not just me.
Oh, good. Yes. I mean, he is so, I mean, just like he just has a black and white view of the world, and it's just really annoying. So I can't stand. And he's pretty much indestructible, which is really annoying too. So.
Well, Roger, you obviously haven't watched Batman v Superman because he is a very complex individual who can also get his face kicked in by Batman with the kryptonite dust, dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And as long as you share
Compelling
a
stuff
first
right
name.
there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah. As long as you share a first name of mother's first name, everything's fine.
You nailed it.
Do you guys have anything else for news?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah. So we were talking about Ryan Reynolds earlier,
Yeah.
And there was recently announced, Deadpool 2 is being re-released with a PG-13 cut. If you guys are still interested, you can take the kids now.
Yay!
Yeah.
And it looks like they shot some additional footage to go along with the movie.
Oh, weird.
Really? That's weird.
Yeah.
I saw in Walmart, and I'm sure it's other stores too, but they had like all these movies like Aliens and Devil Wear Prada and some other movies, and they had Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool on all the cover of all the movies.
Yes. I'm like, this is great marketing. Yes.
I know. And he's like, in every movie, he's like, I wish I was in this movie.
That's
so
awesome.
Weird. So weird. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually seen the second one, so I guess now I can have my kids watch it with me. No, I can't.
Well, Roger, you have to have them watch the first movie first.
That's true.
Exactly, yeah.
Did they make that one PG-13?
No.
Too?
No, not at all. There's no such thing as PG-13 cut for that one.
No, there's not. I won't let them watch Wolverine either, the latest Wolverine movie. So.
Oh yeah,
there's only a bunch of F words. They can watch that, right?
Yeah, just cover their eyes. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and their ears.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Ooh, Christian's got something.
Roger, I told you, Fortnite is crossplay across all platforms now.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say if nobody else said it.
Oh no, I stole your thunder, Blue. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Take it away, Blue.
No. Okay. Fortnite is crossplay compatible.
What?
I know, right?
Do you think they listened to this to our episode and said, "Oh man,
Yes,
we should make it crossplay compatible"?
You're like, we gotta listen to Roger.
They did.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's
Actually, I was arguing that they shouldn't. Remember?
like this little Roger guy. We're gonna prove him wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
And they did.
And they did. Well, that's cool. I mean, I don't know. I mean, has that changed? I mean, your perception? I don't know. Like, are people like, "Oh, yay, we won! Gamers win!"
Yeah. They win.
It kind of seemed to me like people were mostly just making fun of the fact that they were doing it so late.
Yeah. And in their statement, they're like, "We will do this, but for like certain games, though. So don't expect it for all of them." And Fortnite was on the list. And like, oh, okay.
It just so happens
I'm surprised
Fortnite is the
Minecraft wasn't at the
first
top
one.
of the list.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what a rip.
Because I was thinking, like, with Minecraft, Microsoft owns Minecraft. And I'm like, why isn't that, at the top of your list? I'm sure there's some sort of obligation you have to fulfill first.
Right.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because it feels like they caved to pressure, but who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if that really makes perception of PlayStation any different. Of people saying, "Oh, yay! Like now I'm gonna go out and buy all games on PlayStation because they'll make it crossplay." I don't know. Interesting.
I can't remember if it was your show or my show where I said I usually play. This is my first Sony console I've owned, and I'm only there for the single player experience, not necessarily the multiplayer aspect. So it doesn't really, I guess, affect me in some way. But I do know friends who own only a PS4, so I can finally play Fortnite with them.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice.
Some other things that I was going to say. PlayStation, the PS Plus games, free for October. We'll go through the free games.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th. This is a game that I actually kind of wanted to play, and I never got it, but I'm excited now that I can actually get it. And then I'll probably play it for like 10 minutes and be like, okay, yeah. No, I don't know. I'm excited because like the controller throwers actually play this game a lot, and I would love to play with them. So that looks fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard good things about it. It's just sad that it's not receiving active content updates anymore because apparently they're going through some kind of lawsuit with the Friday the 13th creator or something.
Yeah, that's too bad. Because it would have been nice to see like Jason X. Wouldn't that have been fun? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a bad movie, by the way. Laser League is the other game that's on PS4. And then on the PS3 and then also cross-buy on PS4 is The Bridge. Never heard of it. And Master Reboot. Never heard of it. You heard of these games? I haven't heard of these games.
Blue?
I just started playing The Bridge this week on Switch. It was on sale for like $2.50. Oh my god, you guys, it's so much fun. I mean, it's a puzzle game, so if you don't like puzzle games, you're not going to like this one. But it's so beautiful. It's like hand-drawn, like pencil-sketched art. And you have a little guy that you have to get to the door at the end of the level, which then takes you to the next room. So you go to the next level. And basically the only controls you have is the analog stick. You can move the little guy back and forth. And then you've got the right and left trigger buttons, which you use to rotate the whole level. And you can go upside down and everything. And so the art is styled like MC Escher. So by changing the orientation of the level, you can solve the puzzles and get the guy where he needs to go. And it's really simple, but it's really complex at the same time, and it is seriously so fun.
Interesting. And you're playing that on the Switch, you said, is that right?
Yeah.
I'll have to give this game a go. I mean, it's cross-play, or cross-buy, I should say, on PS4 as well. Not cross-play. Cross-buy. I'll have to give that game a go. The other ones that are on the Vita then are Rocket Birds 2 and 2064 Read Only Memories. That game sounds familiar.
Oh.
I thought I saw something about that game, but I thought there was something I thought a while back I was like, that looks like an interesting game, and well, now I can try it. So.
Yeah,
what system is that for again?
That was for a little system that Sony doesn't want anybody to know about. It's called the Vita.
Oh, okay, right.
Their answer to the Nintendo Switch, by the way. So, on Xbox Gold, you'll be getting Overcooked and Victor Vran. I never heard of this game.
Overcooked is cool.
Overcooked. And then
So, can you play Overcooked with just one person, or do you really have to have a team?
You can do it with one person. It's just really it's hard.
Yeah, I would.
It's even hard with people.
I would say.
Because I really want to play it, but I don't really have anybody to play with.
You know what? You could get it on the Switch, Overcooked 2, not the first one, but the second one, and has online capabilities. And
so I just have to make online friends.
I have it on the Switch. And I told Karrington to get it, and he hasn't gotten it yet. On the Switch.
Wow. Sorry, I have it on Xbox.
I know, that's the problem. Like, hey, Karrington, you need to get this game? Yeah, I got it. On the Xbox.
On the Xbox.
And then the 360 is going to see Stuntman Ignition and Hitman Blood Money.
Yes.
Which you can also play on your Xbox One. And then the Switch will be getting 3 NES or NES classic games as part of that online service. Solomon's Key, NES Open, and Super Dodgeball.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Super Dodgeball is an NES game? Boy, they messed up with that name.
It should have just been Dodgeball. Come on.
Exactly.
On the cover it says Dodgeball, but the game is actually called Super Dodgeball. And then the one on Super Nintendo is called Super Duper Dodgeball.
Is that really what it's called?
I wish. No, they never made one on the Super Nintendo, as far as I know. It looks the same character, like the same characterization as River City Ransom, like the same kind of stylized characters. And I will say, if anybody wants to play that game online, that game is the best game, like multiplayer game. It's so much fun because you could pick the. Have anybody played this game before?
No.
No.
I have not.
Oh, this game is so much fun. We should have like a tournament or something like that because this game is like a blast. You can take the ball and like do these super power ups and like chuck it at somebody and hit them and make them go flying. It's oh my gosh, this game's a blast. It's fun.
So for these new NES library games, are they replacing 3 games, or is it just going to be 23 games you can pick from now?
They didn't say, as far as I saw. I'm assuming that
23 games won't fit neatly on the screen.
That's true. It won't. So I'm assuming that they're going to.
So I bet they take 3 away.
It'll probably be like Tecmo Bowl, which I'd cry a lot about if they took that game off.
No, not Tecmo Bowl.
Don't take it.
And then every month they're going to come out with 3 new games. So, Solomon's Key. Has anyone played Solomon's Key before?
No.
I've watched the speed run, but I've never played it.
Nice.
That was one of my first games I owned on the NES. And I will say it's probably one of the hardest games I've ever played. It is super hard. So,
That's actually a fun question. What's the hardest game you've ever played?
yeah. Solomon's Key.
Jeez. Solomon's Key? That's
Well,
it?
I don't play hard games either, remember? So, like, all the all the games. What was that one that you said? Oh, Bloodborne, right? Wasn't that the game that you said I should? You said I should
Bloodborne,
play
yeah.
and I played it and I didn't like it. Yep. That's a game.
Oh, that's sad.
What about you guys? What's the hardest game you guys ever played?
Hardest game. Maybe Willow on the NES.
What? That wasn't that hard. Was it?
Maybe I don't remember it being easy.
I remember playing it, but I don't remember. I think Fester's Quest was super hard. Wasn't that game like impossible to beat because it was broken?
I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe Jeffrey's Gemini was a little hard as a kid, but it was easy when I became an adult, though. I do know that much. One of Rare's underrated games when they were with Nintendo.
What about you, Blue? What's the hardest game you've ever played?
So it might be like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one.
Yeah, that game's really hard.
That one is really, really hard. Or maybe like the Back to the Future game.
Oh, which one?
On NES.
Didn't they have like one and
The
then
first
they had
one.
2 and 3
NES.
as one?
They put 2 and 3
Yeah,
together. Yeah. But I never played that one. I just played the first one, but holy cow, it's like designed in a stupid way. So it's hard to do, but then it's also hard to like get the motivation to even keep trying because it's just so bad.
Do you find though, like, because I loved Back to the Future and I loved the Turtles as well, and do you find like you play these games even though they're super hard, you're like, no, I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna like it, I'm gonna enjoy my time because you like the license. That happens to me all the time. Like the Turtles.
Not
Well, have you played
usually?
the Back to the Future game by TellTale Games by
I
any
did.
chance?
Oh.
Oh, no.
Okay, I was
Those
just
are not
curious.
hard. Those are not hard.
No, they're not hard.
They're fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just trying to throw in another TellTale game, in there. Just,
Good job.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. What about you, Christian? What's the hardest game you've ever played?
This one's kind of tough for me to pick just one.
No games are hard for you, are they?
They are. Plenty of games
No,
are hard
they're
for me.
not.
I just keep on getting to a game, and then I get frustrated. I'm like, oh, this is definitely one of the hardest things I've done. But I've played through the Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and I don't find those very difficult. I just find them more of an exercise in patience and persistence more than anything. But I played through Black Ops 3 on the hardest difficulty, Realistic Solo, by myself, and that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever accomplished, because on realistic difficulty, one hit and you're dead, no matter what. If there's a stray bullet that just comes out of nowhere and hits you, you're dead. And it sucks a lot because the enemies take like a whole clip to take out, and there's robots that take like 5 clips to take out. And that is extremely frustrating, especially by yourself. There's this one section in particular where there's this hallway and there's a sniper perched atop the top of the hallway, and you have to get down the hallway somehow. And this game is built for 3-4 player co-op, I believe. So, I mean, basically what the game wants you to do is run in there with 3 buddies, and then if one of you gets down, you go over and revive them and keep going. But if you're by yourself, you get down, you start back from the checkpoint. And so I had to manipulate the game's geometry and the AI so that he would not shoot me, because you have to go zigzag across this hallway, and while more enemies are coming at you, so none of them can shoot you, and the guy perched atop can't shoot you either. And it was just ridiculous. I probably was stuck on that 10-minute stretch of game for 2 days, which was a cumulative 8 hours of playing.
I would
ridiculous.
have stopped after an hour. I've been I'm done. I'm not going to play this anymore. Because what?
Yeah.
Oh,
persistence,
yeah.
Roger.
No, I'm there was one game, I can't remember what it was. It was when we used to do the trash bin game, which was a was a segment we used to do early on in this podcast. And I don't remember what the game was. It was a World War II game, and they Jake and Matt made me play this game, and within 10 minutes, it was so broken, and I was dying all the time. I'm I'm done. I can't play this. It was awful.
Weird.
It was the worst experience I've ever had. So yeah, I don't have any tolerance for that stuff. And I just don't have the patience.
Another really hard game I played was Trackmania Turbo. Have you guys ever played that?
I have that game.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah. Yeah. PlayStation Plus game, Roger. You're a PlayStation Plus naysayer, but that's another good one.
Xbox Gold first, so yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I played it on thanks to PS Plus, and that's one of my platinum trophies, and boy, was it tough. Oh man, that game probably put the one hair I have on my chest on me. It is insane. Game is so difficult. It casually expects perfection from you. It's yeah, I don't care. Yeah, just get it perfect. You goofed up, you touched the control stick a little too much in this one part. I don't care. Start it all over. And boy, it's tough, especially those 3 lap courses. You have to be pinpoint perfect for 5-minute stretches. It's insane.
Yeah, I love the look and feel of that game though. It's really an amazing game.
Yeah.
That was another game that I made it through a couple tracks, and I'm oh, this is getting hard. And it was fun, but
Roger.
Tristan, I just don't have the time and the willpower like you do, man.
Roger, just picture how much hairier your chest would be if you finished Trackmania Turbo.
I am not going to play this game.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But to be fair, though, Christian was born well into when I was in college. So I mean, he's 12 or something.
That's true.
So
11. Excuse me, Roger. Jeez.
All right. Anything else you guys have for the news? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the game that we're reviewing this week. And not only are we reviewing, but then we have a special guest in the second half of the show, so stay tuned for that as well. We will have Simon Joslin from the Voxel Agents on the show to talk about The Gardens Between. And I just put the review up on our site, which is gamerheadspodcast.podbean.com. So you can go out there and read our review, but I can go through the game itself, give my review, my thoughts on the show right now, and then if you guys have any questions too. So I loved this game. This game, to me, was one of those games that hits you emotionally, kind of reminded me a lot of Journey in the aspect of the fact that there's a lot of emotional things going on in the game, and it's a journey through different events that are happening, and at the end of the game, you just sat there and you're just wow, that was amazing. I can't believe I went through that. And I don't know, it just made me think a lot about my own personal journey that I went through with friends. So
Cool.
Yeah. So it's a puzzle game. So you take on 2 characters, and you go through the different puzzles, and The puzzles are basically time bending puzzles, so you can either move time forward or backwards. And so you're the female character, she collects like light, and she has like this little canister, and the other character, the male character, will like interact with different things and make time bend based on the environment around him. And the premise is that you're supposed to take this light, this globe, up to the top of this mountain and put it on top of the mountain, and then and it like basically unlocks like these little vignettes for you to watch about their times together in their life. And everything that's happening in the world is like something from their real world. So it's like a dreamlight state that they're in. It opens up with you and the girl, or the boy and the girl, I should say, in a treehouse, and lightning's going on, and then a ball of light shows up, and they touch it, and then they're warped to this other world. So, yeah, I want other people to play this game because I want to talk about my experience with them. Because like that's what it feels like to me. Like, you know, if you watch like a play, if you watch or you see like something like a moving piece of art, and then you want to talk to other people about it, like what their feelings were and what they got out of it and what they thought the different imagery meant. That's what this game is to me. That just, I don't know, that feeling that you get when you see like a masterpiece in front of you.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
I'm like in awe right now of how you're describing it. I need to go play this.
It's on sale right now on the PS Plus. If you have PS Plus, it's on sale for $15.99, I think. Otherwise, it's on the Switch, which I played it on for $19.99. Yeah.
Nice. How would you say the difficulty was, Roger? Because, I mean, this is a puzzle game, and sometimes puzzle games don't get the difficulty right. Trinity.
So I will say that from a puzzle-wise, like, it's not difficult, but you have to be creative. And what they did brilliantly about this is they'll show you, like, a kernel of, like, what you need to do for a puzzle, and then they'll, like, they show you what you're supposed to do with certain things, how to interact with the environment, and then you have to, like, pay attention to what's happening in the environment and say, oh, okay, I see what you're trying to get me to do. And then use the time bending aspects of the game to solve the puzzles. So there's nothing like, I will say that there was a couple puzzles that were a little bit difficult. You had to kind of watch what was going on and understand like how to make it past a certain area. But I wouldn't say that they were anything that were like frustratingly hard that I couldn't get past the game. Like they were well designed. And the brilliant thing about this game is that there's no dialogue. I think there is a little bit in the beginning, actually, to show you, like, oh, to interact with this, you hit this button. But beyond that, like, there's no dialogue. The characters don't talk to each other. It's just all interaction through their body language and the environment around them. And even, like, the puzzles, like, outside of the very beginning, they don't tell you, like, how to do it, but you understand how to do it because they've shown you, like, how time warps certain things. It's so brilliant. And you do, yeah, I mean, you do have to, like, you know, use some creativity. And I think that's what I loved about it. It wasn't like puzzles like, oh, there's like, I'm not smart enough to get through it. It was more of like, oh, are you creative enough to get through the puzzles? And that's, I don't know, that's what I loved about the game.
Cool.
So that, yeah, you can go see our review on our site and let us know if you got the game. I would love to hear what other people's thoughts were on the game. So if you got the game and you want to let us know what your thoughts are, you can email us. And how can people email us again, Christian?
info@gamerheadspodcast.com.
You can find us on Facebook.
At facebook.com/gamerheadspodcast.
And Twitter at GamerheadsPC. So, yeah. I would love to hear what other people have to say about this game.
Yeah.
Any other questions that you guys have on the game?
No.
Oh, one thing I had about it, Roger. You talked about this game's very beautiful. How would you feel about the visuals?
See, it was amazing. Like, the amount of detail, and, like, it looked so good on the Switch. It looked so good on the Switch.
Yeah.
Because, Christian, you played a little bit of it, too.
Yeah. What I really liked about it is kind of the environmental interactions, because like while you're going forward and back in time, there's like For example, early on, there's a Jenga tower that just kind of collapses, and it looks really awesome.
Yeah. And there was one other, like, there's one other puzzle where you are playing like a like I don't know, like an old NES game, kind of, and you have to interact with that game, like a very large version of it. So it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's one mode, so I was playing around with it last night, just looking at the game and seeing what else is there in the game. There's a speed run mode in the game. So you can turn that on, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if that's there before you beat it or not. I didn't see that before, so it'd be interesting. I guess I didn't really look before. The other thing is that you can turn on big hair, so your characters have big hair.
That's fun.
I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, the music too. The music is really brilliant. It interacts so well with the environment and really plays into the whole emotional part of the game. And at the end of the game, when I beat it pretty late at night. And it was like 11:30 at night. And my wife said, boy, that was an emotional game. And she said, that's emotional music. So even she wasn't watching me play, but she was just like, man, that music is really emotional. I'm like, yeah, I know, right? The end credit song just really hit me too. So, yeah,
Have you played Celeste at all?
I have played Celeste. I have not beaten Celeste.
So how would you?
But I've played Celeste. Yeah. So I can't. I will say that it's the same in regard. I mean, there's some similarities, but the story is a lot different because in Celeste, I think there's a lot more interaction with other people, right, in the game and and such. And in this game, the only interaction you have is really between the two characters, but really it's not even about their journey. It's to me, I feel like it's more about your own personal journey and your friendships that you have. And at the end of the game, it's these characters could really have had no names whatsoever, and it could have just been about you and your best friend.
That's fair. I was just wondering because what the way you're describing what this game has done for in terms of maybe relationships with other people. I feel like Celeste is done for anxiety and depression, which is why I brought it up.
Yeah, I have to finish that game. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
It's incredible.
But so does this Gardens Between game. This Gardens Between game sounds incredible too.
I would say that is certainly in my mind, in my own running for Game of the Year, it's up there. Because
high praise.
I don't know. There's very few times where you see a game where you're just like, I need to talk to somebody about this. Like my experience, like that. This is that one of those games. I mean, there's other games certainly that do that, but for me, this one was just. There's so much imagery in the game that I don't know. Maybe it's me being a religious studies major in school that I see a lot of imagery too, and I'm like, wow, what does this mean? And what is this? Oh my goodness, I want to talk to people about what I thought this meant. I don't know. It was great. So stay tuned. We'll be talking to Simon later on in this episode. Before we do that, though, we do have a little bit of listener feedback. And if you do want to get a hold of us and ask us questions, you certainly can. You can send us a tweet at Gamerheads PC on the Twitters. You can also send us an email at info@Gamerheads Podcast. Or you can send us a message on Facebook at facebook.com/Gamerheads Podcast. So we did get one email, and they were talking. This is from Jeff, and he talked about some of his favorite games. So I'll just kind of paraphrase his favorite classic games, because last week we talked about retro games, classic games. Was Dr. Mario. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Good
on
man,
the
Jeff.
Yep.
So he said that this might be the reason that he might get a Switch because of Dr. Mario.
Oh, wow.
So
Can't say I blame him.
and then the other thing that he mentioned was playing as a married couple in Dark Age of Camelot. Him and his friend James would play Dark Age of Camelot, and he would play a Celtic healer, and then his friend always made a female character, and they would have the same last name, and that would keep a lot of the a lot of the people, a lot of other guys at Bay because they had the same last name.
That's actually
Roger,
really
it sounds
smart.
like, yeah, I was gonna say, Roger, that sounds like what you
I
need
know,
to do.
right? I know.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really funny. Has anyone ever played Dark Age of Camelot?
No.
No.
I have not.
Yeah, so that was a game that when I was in college, I played a lot of, and it was one of the very first MMOs I've ever played, and it was great. I think it's still around, but it was really, really. It was probably one of the most epic games I've ever played. I loved that game, so that was a good game. So thanks, Jeff, for sending us an email. He sent us an email, so that send us emails. We will read them online if you send us an email, even if it's like, hey, your podcast is awful. I will read that online, and I will ask why you thought that, but I will read that online. Not that I'm asking for people to tell us our podcast is terrible.
Yeah, be careful with that
right?
one.
Yeah. All right, let's go into then the games that we're currently playing, and we'll start with Karrington. What games are you currently playing?
So at the moment, I'm not playing a whole lot. Still playing some Overwatch. I've been playing Fortnite a bit recently, surprisingly. Don't know why. It's just, I guess, my mood. I'm just quietly awaiting Forza Horizon 4's release, which is, as of today, on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Oh, yeah. I get to play it too because I have the Game Pass, so I'm super excited about that game.
Yeah, me too.
I know. I heard Game Informer talk about it. Andrew Reiner talk about the game, and like, oh gosh, the game sounds so good. It sounds so good. I'm super excited about
that. It really does. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not really playing too much until Forza Horizon 4 comes out.
What are you playing Fortnite on right now?
I've been playing it recently on my Xbox, but I mean it's cross-platform, so what does it matter? Hey!
Well, I mean, I just thought maybe you're playing on your Switch because you're like, hey, it's compatible, or not compatible. It's one of them handheld mode, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just because that's where a couple of people I play with, that's where they were playing. They're like, hey, Karrington, you should join us while I'm on playing something. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, cool, nice.
And I blame the PS4 thing also because cross-platform voice chat was being really buggy, and that was the first time it's ever been buggy. I'm like, oh, it's Sony's fault.
Sony said we don't want to do crossplay.
You're right, Roger.
But that's it.
Nice.
That's all I got.
Blue, what you been playing?
Aside from The Bridge, the other new game that I played this week was Owlboy. After
nice.
After last
our
week
conversation?
when Christian and Phil from Pixel Prophecy, they were talking about that, and I'd never played it, but after hearing them talk about it, I was like, I need to check this game out, and it is so good.
Yeah,
It's
I want to play that game too.
Yeah. The art is gorgeous. The music is gorgeous. The only thing that I would complain about is the characters are just really, really mean to poor Otis in the beginning. I wanted to go in there and start throwing punches. They're so mean to him. So I'm driven to get through this game so we can get Otis to a better place and get people to see that they're being terrible.
Wow.
So I'm gonna beat this thing.
How far are you in it right now? How many hours have you put into it?
Probably just one.
Do you think is it a long game? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Honestly,
I think you guys did a really good job, by the way, filling in for me when I was gone. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And it was really good conversation. But yeah, that was all of you mentioned Owlboy, and I was like, yeah, that was another game too that I was always looking forward to, and I haven't played. So I'm glad you're playing it.
Yeah, it's really fun. I recommend it.
Nice. Would you say though, does it have a lot of newer concepts in regards to mechanics, or is it still kind of old school kind of classic mechanics in the game?
I would say it's not terribly new. Kind of the main thing, at least so far, what it is that you play the owl character, so you can fly, and then you have your best friend who has the gun, And so what you do is you carry him with you. And so with the one analog stick, you're kind of driving the owl, and with the other one, you're kind of aiming the gun.
Oh.
So that you wouldn't have seen in a classic game, obviously, but it's a little bit different. It takes a little bit getting used to, but it's not bad.
And to shoot then, is a different button to shoot then too, or how does that work?
Yeah, and then you hit the button to shoot the gun.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. So I just looked it up, and it says the main story is 8 hours for Owlboy, and if you're a completionist, it should take you 12 and a half hours.
Okay. Oh,
That's not bad.
Is there a lot of like side quests or a lot of things to collect in this game?
Apparently there's 4.5 hours worth of side stuff, so I haven't found it yet, but apparently it's there.
All right, nice. Let us know when you get that game completed what your thoughts were on it. I haven't played it yet, so I want to play that game too.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you guys know.
Nice. Anything else, Blue?
No, that was mainly my week. I spent a lot more time with the bridge than I did with Owlboy.
What is the bridge?
It was a very good week.
You said you said that was like the drawn one, but like.
Yeah, the MC Escher one.
So are the puzzles in that game, are they hard or are they like more like creative too?
I don't know. I haven't been stumped yet.
Okay.
But at the same time, the amount of manipulation that you're able to do with each level is kind of limited. You can either rotate it left or rotate it right. So I don't know if, as it gets later into it, if new mechanics are added that gives you multiple ways to solve the puzzles. But I think that so far what I've done, it just kind of seems to be one answer, and either you get it or you don't.
Okay. Yeah. When it comes on PlayStation, I'll give that a go.
Yeah, definitely give it a go. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Sounds good. Christian, what about you?
Yeah, I finished 4 games over the past week.
Of course you
Holy
did.
cow!
And that's a slow week, isn't
my
it?
81st platinum
week
trophy. I'd say it was a good week. I was pleased with what I finished. It was
Christian,
more so
I feel
than
like you
I
could
usually
finish Dragon Quest 11. That's the newest one, right? In like a day or two.
Oh, I wish. It took me like 2 weeks to finish Yakuza 0.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
What is wrong with you?
I know.
So every time Gamerheads gets codes in, if it's like a 60 or 80 hour game, do they just go straight to Christian?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
yep,
that's probably going to be the case.
Hey, Christian, can you beat this in like 3 days?
Yeah.
No problem.
And then I need a 5-page essay on the game on my desk right after.
Oh, jeez. Challenge accepted. But 2 of those games were me getting caught up on the Kingdom Hearts franchise. And Blue, I know that you're also a fan of the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Which of the Kingdom Hearts games have you played?
I've touched on all of them. I haven't completed all of them. Some of the ones that are not the main storyline, I guess, are not my fave. Chain of Memories can die in fire, but
oh no.
Yeah, but I've at least played all of them.
That's awesome. So I finished catching up on Kingdom Hearts, and so I'll probably end up talking about some of the whack job things that are in Kingdom Hearts because it's just an insane franchise. And I over the past week, I finished all the content that was on the 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue collection. So, like I mentioned before, the 1.5 plus 2.5 HD Remix collection is a fantastic way to get into the franchise because it's like I said, it's like 75% of Kingdom Hearts on one disc. It's fantastic. And you've got the main games there and all of the story kind of on that disc. And then the most recent entry in the franchise is Dream Drop Distance, which came out on the 3DS a handful of years ago. And that was remastered in HD for this 2.8 collection. And I finished it. And it takes place right before Kingdom Hearts 3 chronologically. So this is not a prequel. It's the most recent entry in the franchise. And Tetsuya Nomura, who's the creative director and writer of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, made the unfortunate decision of having every single portable spin-off Kingdom Hearts game have major story significance. And that all started back in Chain of Memories, like Blue mentioned, because that was a Game Boy Advance game. And Nomura was like, oh, we have to make a Game Boy Advance game. Let's just set it after Kingdom Hearts 1 to make it important. And then everyone played Kingdom Hearts 2, and they're like, what the heck's happening? I don't understand any of this. Who is this character? I don't know. Why aren't I playing as Sora? And that's set up in Chain of Memories, and no one played it. But that's on the 1.5 plus 2.5 collection, so you can play it there. But it causes like this weird story stuff going on where you, at one point in time, you had to have like a 3DS, a PSP, a Game Boy Advance, and a PS2 just to experience everything in the stupid franchise. But now because of that, these collections, you can just have a PS4 and get all caught up, which is amazing. So yeah, pretty much all the portable entries are story significant, like Chain of Memories, 358 Days Over 2, Birth by Sleep. And so is this Dream Drop Distance game, because like I said, it's the predecessor to Kingdom Hearts 3. It's what will inevitably lead into this third, but not really, actually probably like 8th entry coming out this January, Kingdom Hearts 3. And it's weird playing a 3DS game on a PS4, because, yeah, this game was clearly built for the 3DS, and it came out 6 years ago in 2012. So we have been waiting 6 years for the continuation of Sora's story, which is insane. They make us wait so long for these Kingdom Hearts video games. But thankfully, I'm only getting to this one now. What's that, Blue?
It had better be worth it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, you're telling me. But yeah, like I said, it's weird playing a 3DS game on console because there's like these gummy ship interstitials are replaced with drops where you control a character as they fall downwards, which was clearly meant to utilize the 3DS's 3D capabilities because you're kind of looking into the screen. And obviously with the PS4, you're not doing 3D stuff. You could on the PS3, the PS3 had 3D capabilities, not the PS4. So the depth perception of those sections particularly is a bit off. And there's also like these weird petting animal sections, which feels like Nintendogs for some reason. I don't understand why that was thrown in there, but you kind of have to do it with your controller, which is weird. But other than that, I was really impressed that they got this Dream Drop Distance game on a 3DS. Like, I was pretty impressed that this was a portable game at some point. The areas are huge, the graphics are really good, the movement's really fast, and it almost feels like a fully fledged Kingdom Hearts game, which is not what I can say for like the DS entries like 358 over 2 or what was another one, Recoded, or playing through Birth by Sleep. That one also kind of had a little bit of a this is a portable game now feel to it. Whereas this one actually did a pretty good job of transitioning and making like a fully fledged game on a portable, which was pretty impressive. And so it's an action RPG. You spend most of your time Keyblade swinging, and it actually borrows a bit from Birth by Sleep, which was the PSP spinoff, which was a prequel in which your magic and special attacks are a list of commands with cooldowns. So unlike Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, you don't have any MP that you use or anything like that. It's just a bunch of things in a list that are on a cooldown. But things are a bit different in Dream Drop Distance, and very like strangely so. There's this thing called flow motion where you like dash into a wall or poles, and then you get this burst of speed that lets you move fast or perform a powerful move. And it's a new mechanic for the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and it's really strange because these flow motion moves that you can do, the attacks, you just like press square to slam into a wall, and then you just press X immediately afterwards and you do a powerful attack. So they're kind of overpowered, and the game doesn't really play like a Kingdom Hearts game anymore because you're just slamming into walls and attacking over and over if you like just want to take the easy route. So that's probably a knock against Dream Drop Distance, is that this stuff is a little too overpowered, and it like confuses me. Like, I don't understand exactly how they want me to play the game when flow motion is overpowered. And that was also a problem with Chain of Memories that you mentioned, Blue, where there's a certain point you get to where you just kind of break the game, and then it doesn't really matter anymore because you're just breaking everything all the time. So you also get pets, like I mentioned, which are called Dream Eaters. And you get crafting materials that you combine to make the pets, and they're your party members this time around instead of Donald and Goofy, which kind of sucks. Yeah, I might be wrong, but I don't believe in any of the portable entries you get to keep Donald and Goofy as your companions, which is sad. It's only Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. But they also, like, these pets are also your gateway to unlocking abilities. So as you use the pets, they gain these link points, and then you use the link points to get abilities by just like leveling them up. And you can pet your Dream Eaters to give them buffs, like I mentioned. I didn't completely understand that because it seemed like you could just pet them forever and they would just keep on slowly leveling up. Or they might not let you do that. I don't know. I just gave up and didn't do that anymore. So, but yeah, it's weird how they make you unlock your abilities through these Dream Eaters. It was kind of frustrating because it's like a very indirect way of unlocking your abilities. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, you just level up and then you get the abilities that way. And I prefer it that way because Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 are best, or make my heart go doki doki.
So is this the only way that you can play? I mean, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, what was that? Kingdom Hearts 1 was on PS2? PS1? PS2?
Yep.
And
PS2.
Kingdom Hearts 2 was on, what was that on? PS2.
PS2.
So the only way that you can get all of them though is through this on one system is to get this game.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, 1.5 plus 2.5 is the best way to get all of them. And then if you want the rest of the story, you need to get 2.8 because they don't name these games well. But that's what you just got to do. And Dream Drop Distance.
Go ahead,
Roger.
The reason I didn't get into these games though is because of the weird naming conventions that they had for these games.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nightmare. Like, if these collections didn't exist, I definitely would not have gotten into the series the way I have. And these collections just make it infinitely more accessible because you don't have to shell out the money to buy the games, and then you don't have to be like staring at Wikipedia trying to figure out what order you're supposed to play these games in and what any of the titles mean, because they're pretty nicely ordered on the collections. But Dream Drop Distance also lets you play as both Sora and Riku, which is something that they also did in Chain of Memories, but this time around it's more significant. And switching between the two is handled very strangely, because instead of playing through as Sora and then playing through as Riku like Chain of Memories, you just like have this timer mechanic, which is really bizarre. So you have like, I have no idea how you come up with this in order to try and play as two playable protagonists. It makes no sense. Like you'll have this drop timer, and so the longer you play as one character, the more the timer goes down, and then once it reaches 0, your character falls asleep, and then it's boop, time to play as the other character for a while. It's just so, yeah, it's really bizarre, and they've done the multiple character things before, especially in Birth by Sleep, where you just play through one story, get through it, then the next story, get through it. Whereas this one, I guess they wanted you to play as them at the same time. And so they have the timer mechanic.
Is it
it's
important for their story?
It's strange.
To be told that you have to play them at the same time, or not really?
Yeah, that's also weird because, I mean, people fall asleep sometimes. I mean, they explain it early on in the story, but it doesn't have major story ramifications for the rest of it. There's like a little story bit at the end that like kind of explains it, but even still, I felt like it was kind of weird. I mean, you can say that about a lot of these Kingdom Hearts games. It's just weird decisions. But I felt that was weird, even by Kingdom Hearts standards, especially from a gameplay perspective. It's like, what? It was strange. There's more Disney worlds in Dream Drop Distance, which are fun to play around in, because I love when they integrate more different Disney stuff. And it's a weird thing to get hung up on, but I had issues with Sora and Riku's character models because they're really small. And it makes sense from a gameplay perspective because you don't want the character models filling up the screen, especially when you were like playing this on a 3DS. And the areas are huge, bigger than any other Kingdom Hearts games, like including Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and Birth by Sleep, which also have big areas. So I can understand why they would want your character to be smaller, but like, it doesn't make sense from a story perspective because they look shorter than they did in Kingdom Hearts 2, where they grew up a bit. And so there's a bit of story stuff in there that kind of explains their different height, but they don't outright address it. And it really bothered me and it nagged at me the whole entire time. But they appear to be taller for Kingdom Hearts 3, so it won't be an issue there. That's why I'm very excited for Kingdom Hearts 3. This game's a lead up to it, and it's got me very excited because I'm ready for a main Kingdom Hearts game. No more of this portable crap where I'm not flying a gummy ship, where I'm not getting abilities by just leveling up, and I'm ready for that good old school Kingdom Hearts combat.
That's so funny to me that you miss flying the gummy ships.
Yes, I do.
You must be the only person I've ever heard say that you miss flying the gummy ships.
Yeah. I might have a case of Stockholm syndrome because Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 are two of my platinum trophies, and so I played through those games just on PS4 like 3 times each. So wow. I played a lot of gummy gummy missions. And at first I'm like, oh, I don't like these. Do I really have to do all of this? But as I started going for the 100% stuff, I was like, I'm okay with doing these. I started having fun with them.
Is this system? I mean, is this game coming just? Is it a PlayStation exclusive, or is it coming to other systems?
Are you talking about Kingdom Hearts 3? It is not a PS4 exclusive this time around. It is going to be, I believe, the first Kingdom Hearts game on Xbox. Is it coming to Switch or no? I do not believe so. At least not at this point in time.
Seems weird though, because Nintendo had, I wouldn't say a big hand, but I mean, they certainly came on. I remember seeing it on the Game Boy Advance, and I remember seeing, on the DS, right? DS or 3DS? Yeah, the Game Boy Advance and DS and 3DS have all had their own exclusive Kingdom Hearts entries at one point. It makes me wonder if they'll have like a side game of Kingdom Hearts 3.5. Be on the Switch. Yeah, or something like that. I hope they don't do something like that. Maybe they would. I don't know. Yeah, maybe they'll pull a Final Fantasy 15 and put portable edition on the Switch or something. Which would be weird.
The Pocket Edition of Kingdom Hearts.
Pocket Edition. That's it.
Weird.
It would be strange.
I remember playing the first one, and I enjoyed the first one. I think the thing I enjoyed about it was the fact that it had all these Disney characters in it. And it sounds like they'll have pirates this time around, right? Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 also had pirates. Oh, okay. Yep. So they're making their return with a better Johnny Depp voice actor by the sounds of it. Well, and it looks great. Well, we'll have to see when it comes out who's going to beat the game first, you or Blue. So probably Blue.
I'm going to say it's going to be Christian.
No, Blue, you got the whole week off. I am incredibly jealous. I'm green with envy.
But I feel like that you're probably just a little bit more efficient at this kind of thing than I am.
Probably to an unhealthy degree.
So do you guys? So this is I remember the first one being a traditional role playing game, right? Where you level up, right? Yeah.
Action RPG.
Sure. Yeah. So when you play role playing games, do you play it the way that I play it, where I just keep grinding until I get super high level and then take on a boss, or do you be by progression, I should be, playing through the game. If I'm at, 13 hours into the game and I'm at the boss, that's just, I shouldn't have to grind. I should be at where I'm supposed to be. How do you both, well, in Karrington, you can answer this too, but how do you play role-playing games? Do you play where you just grind it out, or do you play where, natural progression should be where I'm at, and that's the level I should be at?
I do the natural progression kind of way for myself, unless I really have to grind for a specific boss or anything like that. But for the most part, I feel like wherever I am at that boss, that's what level I should be at. That's what the game wants me to be at for a nice little, just I feel like that's how the developers wanted me to experience the game.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
I guess I would. I'd say it kind of depends on how much freedom the game gives you. If it's open world, and you don't have to follow the main quest, I probably won't. I'll probably get really distracted doing 4,000 other things, and so then by the time I get around to a boss, I've grounded my way to a high level just kind of by accident from doing so many other things.
Yeah.
But if it's a game that keeps you relatively on task, then I'll probably just do what Karrington said and just go for it rather than keep going back and redoing old sections.
Yeah, what about you, Christian?
Yeah, I'm probably a bit of a mix between you two, Blue and Karrington, because I like the more natural progression end of things. That's definitely the route I will take first. Or what I'll do is I'll do a lot of the main side stuff while I'm going as well, so that hopefully by the time I get to a difficult battle, I will be leveled up enough. Because when I was young, I played through Final Fantasy X, and that's a very linear game up until the end. It's extremely linear, and I just wanted to get through it. So what I was doing at the beginning was just running away from battles. And boy, was that a bad move, because I was getting, not good. I got stuck on Seymour 3 times. And eventually it was just so bad. I was getting my face just bashed in so bad by Seymour that I had to just restart the entire game and just actually fight the battles as I went along. So I learned the hard way that I'm going to go around and do as much of the fights that I run into as possible.
Yeah, I think for myself, like even with Spider-Man, I've been doing like all these side things just to level myself up before I take on a boss, because I'm always thinking, oh man, I don't know, I just don't want to make it to a boss and then just, you know, halfway through the boss and I get killed, like, or I get so close to beating the boss and I die, and I get really frustrated with that. So I tend to do more of what Blue said is I'll do all the side quests and I'll do everything I can first before taking on a boss, to the point where it's like I probably didn't have to do all that stuff. Although I will say Octopath Traveler, you do have to do a lot of grinding before you can move on to the next boss. So yeah, so I don't know. I'm excited. I don't know. After hearing you talk about it, I'm excited about this game. I had to play the first two. I played a little bit of the first one, but I'll have to go back and play more of it. So
yeah, speaking of this next one, Kingdom Hearts 3, another thing that's on the 2.8 collection is a thing called Kingdom Hearts 0.2: A Fragmentary Passage. Have you played this at all, Blue?
No, I didn't get to that one.
Okay, gotcha. So I don't know how to explain this. It's like an interquel, because it takes place after Birth by Sleep, but before Kingdom Hearts 1. So like the story is in this like weird middle ground, or it kind of takes place during Kingdom Hearts 1. And I think like basically it's a tech demo for Kingdom Hearts 3, because it's using the same engine that they intend to use for the third Kingdom Hearts, which is Unreal Engine 4. And it's like this pretty short little bite-sized experience. It's like 3 hours to get through the entire thing. And yeah, it just feels extremely tech demo-y, because like the first thing you see is like this controller tutorial picture at startup telling you what all the buttons do, which is something that's like straight out of a playable demo. And there isn't really as much depth as your typical Kingdom Hearts game. You like start out at level 50, I want to say. Yeah, I think you start out right at level 50 with a bunch of abilities unlocked, and you don't really worry about that stuff so much. But what's fascinating about it is that it uses the same engine that they're supposedly going to use for Kingdom Hearts 3, and that's Unreal Engine 4, as I mentioned. And it's just fascinating. I feel like that's the most curious thing about it, because I can't help but feeling that Unreal Engine is a misstep for them, because I've seen a lot of these trailers for Kingdom Hearts 3, and like what is it? It was the Hercules stuff in particular. I was looking at it and being like, it looks off to me. It doesn't look quite right, because it doesn't look like Kingdom Hearts to me, because I believe almost all the past entries look very much like Kingdom Hearts, and they look very much, you know, kind of this like cartoony feel to them, which I really like, and it makes me love the games a lot, and I feel like it's perfect for what they do. But yeah, this 0.2: A Fragmentary Passage kind of confirmed my suspicions about the new engine, because to a degree, everything is like really well done. I mean, the combat mechanics feel very much like Kingdom Hearts, despite being in this very modular Unreal Engine. And the attacking and magic all feels like it's just straight out of the games that came before. And they do a really good job with the gameplay here. They combine Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 2 combat into something that feels just great. You have so many options. You're flying around, beating up Heartless and shooting off magic. That looks really cool. But the movement doesn't feel quite right. It kind of feels like you're gliding across the ground instead of actually walking on it. And some of the more detailed ground terrain will have like these little bumps that will screw with your jumps, which is something that hasn't been in any other Kingdom Hearts games, where the land is just flat and then you've got these little like juts that are stair steps. So it felt weird and bizarre. And the general look of things is what I had the most issue with, because there's no denying that this Unreal Engine 4 makes things look higher quality. You've got better lighting, you got more detailed effects, you got higher quality textures. But it doesn't look like Kingdom Hearts. It's too realistic. It's not cartoony. Like they're going for this realistic looking Kingdom Hearts, which clashes harshly with the character models. And it doesn't look right to me most of the time. Like in the opening cutscene, they have Yen Sid, who is the sorcerer. And he looks horrendous in Unreal Engine 4. He looks so bad. And they also take you to Destiny Islands in this game, which is a locale that I believe has been used in every single other Kingdom Hearts game. And it looks so off to me, because they're going for realistic foliage, and that's not what Kingdom Hearts is. I mean, they haven't made a Kingdom Hearts game throughout the whole PS3, Xbox 360 generation. So maybe they feel like they kind of have to overcompensate for things. I just hope that they are able to get past that kind of visual weirdness that I'm having with this for Kingdom Hearts 3. And this zero 0.2 fragmentary passage thing came out early last year. So they most likely had plenty more time to work within the engine. But yeah, I mean, we'll still have to wait and see. I'm still very optimistic. The gameplay works very nicely. The look is just a bit off.
Was that supposed to be built out to show off, like, hey, look what we can do now? Like, was that the design or what?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Hair looks cooler now, I guess. But like, just like Sora, seeing Sora, it looks weird. Seeing Mickey in Unreal Engine 4 is so weird. It doesn't feel right. It's like, for example, I've seen like fan-made games of like Super Mario 64 remade in Unreal Engine, and it'll be like the what is it? The bomb mountain level from Super Mario 64, like the first one you get to. And I'm like, okay, like that objectively looks technically impressive, but that's not Mario. Like, there's a reason why in Mario Odyssey, they're not using Unreal Engine 4. They're using their own proprietary engine that makes things look nice and cartoony and makes it feel Mario.
Yeah, but what is Fortnite built off of? Yeah.
Unreal Engine.
Unreal. But in that defense, though, Epic did make the Unreal Engine, so it makes sense they would use their own technology.
I know, but I'm saying that it looks very cartoony, though, right?
You're right. Yeah. If Kingdom Hearts 3 looked like Fortnite, I'd be all aboard the hype train. I mean, I still am, but I think I would be more comfortable with how things would look. I think the Toy Story world looks amazing, though, in what I've seen from the trailers. I mean, I think Unreal Engine 4 makes that really shine.
Yeah, that's true, because the ones that they keep showing in the trailers are Toy Story and then Big Hero 6.
Ooh, Big Hero 6.
Yes.
You know, the ones that are less of the traditional cartoony look.
Yeah, like the CGI stuff. Yeah, that stuff looks neat.
Oh, well, I guess we'll have to... When is that game coming out?
January, I believe.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait to see what we get.
Yeah. I'm very excited.
Anything else, Christian?
Well, I have 2 more games that I played, but I've been rambling on long enough about Kingdom Hearts that I can just call it if you want.
Let's see. Besides The Gardens Between, I have... Which, by the way, I just want to say, that was one of the very first games that I beat in a really long time, so that also bodes very well for the game. So, because
good job.
Normally I get distracted and go on to something else, but this one I was not distracted at all. So, or that I get frustrated and I can't beat it. But, so let's see, what else have I been playing? I have been playing another game that we got, and I'll be writing up a review probably by next week. Hopefully by middle of next week. It's called Jedamero, Hero of the Universe. So we got a review code for that game, so thank you very much. And actually we'll be having Gabriel Koenig, who actually created the game, on our show on the 14th to talk about the game. So I'm excited about that. Ooh. And then I also been playing a little bit about of the game Bombing Busters, which Christian, you got to play with me. And
I did.
That is it reminds me a lot of Bomberman. So it was pretty chaotic. Christian and I played that at lunch, and it was pretty a chaotic game. But I've been playing that game as well. I'll be having a review for that hopefully within the next week or so as well. And let's see what else I've been playing. And then just a lot of the NES classic games. I've been playing a lot more Tecmo Bowl. I have to improve my skills so I can actually beat Christian, because he kind of whooped my butt at lunch.
It was pretty close.
And
it was.
And then I don't know. Starting probably next week, I'll be playing more of the Super Dodgeball, so we can challenge each other on that game. Oh, and I got back into Super Mario Odyssey too, so I've been playing a little bit more of that.
Game's good, Roger. Get all those moons.
All right. So before we take a break, and then when we come back, we'll be speaking with our guest Simon Joslin from the Voxel Agents. Before we get into the interview, though, how can people get a hold of us? Karrington, we'll start with you. How can people get a hold of you?
get a hold of me at DesertFury90 on the good old Twitters, and that's what I am on PS4 and Xbox as well. I'm also from a different show, Real Dudes Podcast. Hook up with us over on Twitter at RealDudes_pod, Real Dudes Podcast, Instagram, and Facebook.
Nice. And what are your recent shows? What have you been talking about in your recent shows?
So as of this recording, it's Sunday. So when this releases, it'll release tomorrow, right?
Yep.
On Monday. So you can head on over. We talk about the Video Kid, finally. I know it's been a while, but we finally review it on our show. We also talk about Hiroki and our experience over at the Cincinnati Comic Expo. And I'm excited because my brother joined us for that episode also. So you can hear him never before ever. So I'm excited for that.
Does he have a little thing too? Does
And
he
we
go, hey, or anything like that?
No, he does not. But he was for an amateur, a novice, if you will. He did a really good job. So I'm excited for you guys to hear him. He also was with me for an interview that won't be released for another 3 weeks, unfortunately. But just keep your eyes out. He sounds like a veteran in that interview.
Cool. I'm excited. And Blue, how can people get hold of you?
You can find me on Twitter. My handle is Writer's View, and it's spelled with a Y, so WRY. And then I also have a website, writersview.com.
Nice. And do you have anything new out there that you've been reviewing? I know you reviewed Hollow Knight, right?
Yeah, I've been still working on that review because, as everybody knows, it's super hard to write a review for something that you really, really love. So I am taking my time with that one. I want to get it absolutely right. I also just finished a review that should probably be out in the next few days for the Well-Read Mage. I reviewed Sunless Sea, the Submariner edition.
Oh,
interesting.
And over on the Well-Read Mage, we'll be doing a giveaway for a code for that game. So if you want to play, be sure to look us up on Twitter.
Yeah, head over there. Cool. And Christian, what about you? How can people get a hold of you?
yeah. You can email me at christian@gamerheadspodcast.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook at facebook.com/gamerheadspodcast. Or you can follow me on Twitter at Christian Cupsa.
And you do other shows as well. Why don't you go ahead and plug those too?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm on another podcast in case you wanted to hear me gush about Kingdom Hearts for way too long again. It's called the Double Jump Podcast. You can find me there.
Yeah, you guys go into the really in-depth into Kingdom Hearts on that podcast. Recently,
oh, yeah,
right?
we do.
You guys talk about other things too, not just Kingdom Hearts, right?
Yeah, totally. We talk about all kinds of games. I'm also on a YouTube video series called The Socket. We just reviewed Tales, Tales Adventures, because we are going through every single Sonic game. And the intent is to also go through every Kingdom Hearts game. And I'm a bit ahead of the curve as far as the content is concerned, but we just put out stuff for Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories, so Kingdom Hearts 2 is next on the docket.
And you also now are reviewing for...
Yeah, I will be in the near future, hopefully writing reviews for Push Square. So stay tuned to Push Square.
That's exciting.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Congratulations, bro. I'm excited to see where you go.
Thank you very much.
He's growing up before our eyes.
He and his one chest hair.
Yep.
Yes, yep.
Straight to the top.
By the time he's 14, he'll really have made it. No, we're proud of you, Christian.
Thank you very much.
And for us, for Gamerheads, you can reach us on Twitter at Gamerheads. Twitter is Gamerheads PC. Sorry. And then you can email us at info@gamerheadspodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Gamerheads podcast. And you can also subscribe to us on Podbean. That's at gamerheadspodcast.podbean.com. You can subscribe to us there. You can also listen to read our reviews there. And also, obviously, you can find us on iTunes, subscribe to us there, or on Google Play, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. So we would love to hear what you have to say, and we appreciate everybody that's been listening to us. All right, that is it for the first half of the show. And then the second half, we'll be welcoming in our guest Simon Joslin from the Voxel Agents. So stay tuned.
It's 7:55. I'm late for Jessica.
Are you 80s enough? for the Video Kid Challenge? Survive your video round with just one life. And hundreds of ways to die. Save Jessica and win the game.
Maybe at the park at 8, okay?
And be amongst the best of the best.
Can you handle the Video Kid Challenge?
Out now on Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and Steam. When the universe might be in danger, who will save the day and protect the humans? Never fear, Jedamero is here to save the day. Or, at least, Jedamero will try their best. Watch out for that building, Jedamero! Jedamero, Hero of the Universe, is a relaxing journey through the cosmos, unraveling an emotional story about a giant, indestructible robot. Rocket through a beautifully stylized procedural universe and discover the history of Jedamero while jamming to a collection of down-tempo sci-fi jams. Coming to the Nintendo Switch on October 4th and available for pre-order now. Jedamero, Hero of the Universe.
Do you like video games? Do you like to read? Alright, guys, I know that those two things usually don't go so well together, but my new book, The Minds Behind the Games, Interviews with Cult and Classic Video Game Developers, is kind of like an ESPN 30 for 30 collection of interviews with some of the coolest creators in video game history. We're talking iconic games, Deus Ex, Mortal Kombat, Wasteland, NBA Jam, not so iconic, E.T., Night Trap, indie games, Pro Wrestling X, Towerfall. If you love video games, you will love my book. If you know nothing about video games and want to get in the know, read my book. It's available wherever fine books are sold: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, and of course my site, patrickhickeyjr.com. It's an awesome book. I had a ton of fun writing it, and simply put, if you want to get in the know and you want to find out stuff that's not even on Wikipedia, check it out. You won't regret it.
Do you remember the days when console games were pure simple fun? No loot crates, season passes or crowdfunding. You just paid for the game and it was yours to keep. You didn't have to sit through hours of boring cutscenes, and there were no loading screens to keep you from the action. At Four Horses Games, we remember those days and we aim to bring them back. Miles and Kilo, our latest release on the Nintendo Switch, is pure action from start to finish. Run, jump, slide and swing your way across 36 action-packed levels as you and your dog try to escape a haunted island, battling bosses along the way. Still need more? 20 tough achievements and a time attack mode keep you going that extra mile. Reviewers are saying that Miles and Kilo is a must-have title. Available now on the Nintendo Switch and coming to other consoles later this year.
And welcome back to Gamerheads. Our guest tonight is Simon Joslin, co-founder of the Voxel Agents, designer of Train Conductor, and executive producer of The Gardens Between. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you, Roger, for having me on the show.
Yeah, I know that you're a very busy person, so I really appreciate your time coming on our show.
Are you sure? I could just be putting that sort of imagery out there. There's no guarantees that I'm actually busy.
Well, I gathered you are, and especially with with this game and everything, I'm sure you're very busy. So I appreciate your time.
Well, in our day and age, that's the sign of you being a successful person, right? It's how busy you are.
Exactly. Yeah, it shows that, man, if I'm not that busy, I guess I'm not that successful. Well, welcome.
Sorry to derail the podcast already.
No, that's good. We laugh a lot on this podcast too. Okay. So tell us about yourself, Simon, and the studio Voxel Agents.
Sure. The Voxel Agents was started by myself, Matt, and Tom back in 2009. we were all students at university together in Brisbane, Australia, and we'd been studying together for a few years, and we'd always talked about starting a studio, you know, the exciting possibilities of the future and wanting to work on original, awesome games, but had no idea how to do it. We were studying a degree that's like IT and creative industry, so like 3D design and website design and stuff. And ideally was intended to give you the outcome of making games, but actually no one in the degree was in that middle space. They were both like separated off in their IT world or in their creative world and didn't really know how to make the two meet. So we took it upon ourselves to go and make games in our spare time a lot during uni. And you know, we made some things. There was nothing great that I would talk about, but we made some things. And then we went and got jobs in different studios around Brisbane. I was at Half Brick Studios for 2 years, and this is before they were famous with Fruit Ninja. And Matt was at Pandemic Studios that was working on an unreleased Wii game. Yeah, we won a game making competition 2 years in a row where you get locked into a room for 48 hours, like, you know, like sort of theoretically locked, not actually locked. By choice, of course. You're complicit in this. And you have 3 keywords and you compete against teams. And we did really well 2 years in a row, and it gave us the confidence with a bit of industry experience and proving that we did actually work pretty well together. We decided to lash out and go our own way. And
nice.
We got started, the 3 of us, and had no idea what we were doing still. I mean, starting a business is like a whole new ballgame, right? Like we had a bit of experience making games, but actually being in charge of the projects, not really running business, not really. There's so much to learn. So that's been 10 years actually. It'll be 10 years in April. Yeah, long road.
Yeah, I'm sure that's really scary to start off and saying, "Hey, we're gonna do this," and you know, like I don't know, like I have a lot of ideas that I wanted to do, and I'm like, nope, too scared.
Yeah. Look, I like to think we were brave, but I also think we were slightly delusional. Like we just didn't, well, I guess naive and delusional, like didn't really know what was involved, didn't really know what odds we were against. I think that on one hand, we were extremely fortunate that we chose to start at a time when the iPhone had just begun, and so we have ridden the iPhone wave for almost 10 years. Not at the peak of the wave, obviously, basically at the bottom, but just enough to be surviving for 10 years. And that's an achievement for sure. But I think at the same time, there's a lot of luck in that. And as much as I might have had a little manifesto that I put in front of the 2 other guys, Matt and Tom, and said, all right, this is why I think now is the time for us to start a studio. It's convenient to look back and think that we were genius. I think to a certain degree, there was just a lot of luck there. It was the right time of us in our lives that it felt right. And the Australian games industry was basically hemorrhaging people and shutting down so many studios because of the GFC, the global financial crisis at that time. Yeah. So like, you know, it was a culmination of things that sort of also helped prompt that for us.
Yeah. Wow, 10 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
And recently you released The Gardens Between, which I reviewed and I absolutely loved.
Thank you.
What was the inspiration behind the game, The Gardens Between?
So in 2011, that's where this all begins. We were chatting about different game ideas, thinking up what could be next after Train Conductor, and we chatted about Minority Report. We said, what happens if you took that scene from Minority Report where Tom Cruise is moving memories back and forth and, you know, able to control time like that and turn that into a game? And if you look at the final product, there's actually a huge parallel there to where it started. I think it looks beautifully connected, but actually along the way to turn that into a game idea, there's a very rough road and a lot of tumultuous creative design that took us in all kinds of directions. And it's interesting how much it's come back to that initial kind of vision in a way. Like when you give that pitch and you're like, you take that moment in Minority Report. Well, it's pretty similar. Like, it's a memory. You move backwards and forward through it. Yeah, it's interesting. It would take hours to explain all the prototypes, but I can just say that it is probably like there's probably like 11 complete rebuilds of the game from the ground up as different ideas, and some of them are just like really left of field, and then they're all about moving time backwards and forwards. But it was about trying to figure out what is the interesting layering on top of that movement back and forward through time that can be maintained for a long period of time and built into a game that you would want to spend hours with. That was the challenge. And I think like first 7 iterations just couldn't figure that out. There was just no clear way to turn that into something deep and meaningful beyond like a 5-minute curiosity.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging.
Well, what's interesting to me, that the inspiration behind that was the Minority Report, and we'll go into the story a little bit about a little bit later in the interview. But I think your story is so much better told than Minority Report. There's so many holes in Minority Report that it's amazing.
Thank you. Well, so that's the base level mechanic, or the mechanical functioning concept. That's where that comes from. But we didn't actually pick up the game and put it into full-time development until 2014. So the game hasn't been in development actively for 8 years. It was first conceived, and then I think we put it through 5 different rebuilds in 2011, trying to explore different ways of doing it. They were all small, like some of them were as short as like a week-long development cycle, and others were probably 2 or 3 weeks long, but nothing huge. Just trying to figure it out, like one of them we did publicly in an art gallery, actually, as like a band in a bubble. I don't know if you've ever had one of those. It was on TV in Australia. Anyway, a band gets in a glass bubble and plays and records a studio album. Actually, I think that's what happened. And so we were kind of like that for 14 hours, publicly making a version of this game in 2012. But yeah, we only started picking it up back up in 2014 when we scaled up a bit. We had a bit more resources. We received a tiny bit of government funding that helped us to branch out and be able to take on more than one project at a time. And Henrik Peterson, the game director behind The Gardens Between, he was with us in that early prototyping phase and was responsible for some of those rebuilds. And he felt like he could take this further. He was like, yeah, I can definitely see what's possible here. And so that's when he came back into the studio and started working on this idea and went through rebuilds like 8, 9, and 10. And he realized that a really important aspect of this mechanic is that you're effectively watching like a 30-second clip of time. It's like a moment. At one point, I think the game was actually called Moments in Time or something like that. And because it's such a short window of time, you're going to be telling all your story through this really small window. So you need to have lots happening. And it's also going to be a complex scene with lots of things to look at. Kind of like an animated Where's Wally or Where's Waldo.
Sure.
And and so it kind of you can see how like moving that space backwards and forwards and watching all the details and all the complex interactions between things, that's kind of that's the nugget of where we realized that environmental storytelling would be really strong. And an obvious way to execute on that is to use memories and a really very accessible and relatable set of memories that I think most of us can often share and talk about is our childhood memories. And many of them are often kind of somewhat similar. I mean, they're all unique and special to us, but I think, like building a pillow fort on a rainy day, it's a pretty common one. And we can all relate to that kind of experience. Or like having a best friend who moves in next door, and it's like this amazing journey that you go through together, learning about each other and going on all these adventures, and then suddenly like the family moves or whatever and it's over. Like they can be really fleeting. Or maybe like a friend that you have at a holiday, that can be a weekend long friendship that's the most amazing friendship you've ever had. No, I think that's the thing, and I'll get into this a little bit more, but I think that was the thing that I took away from that as well, is just that how relatable the game was.
that the characters you're playing didn't necessarily have to have names, that you could totally put yourself in those characters. And I think that was the most powerful part about the game.
Yeah, so that was I think you've touched on something that was really significant and important to the team. A goal was to make it have some negative space for the player to be able to apply the stories to their own life and to make it more personal. Because without any direct exposition, without saying, specific plot points, or having the characters talk and make their personalities like as directly known as to say something exactly, you're kind of leaving that empty space for the player to be able to interpret and see it their own way and put themselves into the story. And I think that makes it so much more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. So around the puzzles then, what was the process behind creating the levels or the puzzles? Did you start with an idea and then flesh it out, or did you start with the potential solutions and then work backwards? How do you do that?
Yeah, good question. Well, I touched on the idea that the game has been through like a serious amount of iterations. So like this 11 rebuilds thing. Some ideas come from those earlier concepts and then are reapplied in a new way in this final 11th rebuild. But it's probably important to mention that the storyline was actually designed and prepared and like sort of written down and figured out about 2.5 years ago by Brooke Maggs, our narrative designer, who was brought on. And it had 21 key memories that they share together that follow the story arc of their friendship. And so when you're playing through and you see for example, the day they were playing board games and they built their pillow fort on the rainy day in the house, they were playing board games, they were playing computer games, and then there's that couch level. That was all understood and known like a long way ahead of time. And that was really handy as like a framework to tell our story. And then it was figuring out how to build puzzles to match those concepts. So there's obviously some flexibility. I mean, they could have potentially done something else in the lounge room that day, but it was about figuring out puzzles that would fit thematically with those story moments. So it's a bit of back and forth. Sometimes you would get really awesome puzzle ideas, like the idea that you could have a world inside a world. Like it could be a security camera screen that you're looking at, and then you can control what happens in the security camera, like what happened in that scene. Or in the way we executed it, it was a computer game that the two characters were playing together in the lounge room.
Yeah.
And you're able to control the computer game as a separate timeline to theirs. And, that is quite flexible. And we had some ideas actually for doing really cool other puzzles that came from that never quite made it into the game. But you can see how that has some flexibility. It could be a security camera. It could have been a computer game. It could have potentially been a painting, or we did actually have something like that with the mural that is in the playground. So they go through lots of different entry points, I guess, to getting into the game. Often sort of towards the end of the game, or the end of the development, we were getting much better at knowing what worked and what didn't in this kind of game, and we would take the story concept and then just focus on that one particular story moment and figure out what was possible within that space. So the playground, for example, was always about items within a playground. So initially it was about a swing and having different timelines that each of if you have two seats on the swing, they could be swinging at different times, so you could have them offset, and doing something like that to solve a puzzle. That was one of the iterations. And then we were like, that's too confusing. So then it was about like putting something into a tire swing in a tree and then flinging it out and catching it with something else. And they're always themed around that, but it's trying to figure out what you can do in such a constrained environment where effectively it's like a one-dimensional timeline, right? Like you got the start of time on the left and you got the end of time on the right. And as I said, they're only about 30-second, maybe up to a minute long kind of moments in time. But it's about the order that you interact with the things along that timeline, the order that you switch them or the way you change them and how they can overlap and interact that is important. But it's so constrained, there's very little you can do. So trying to come up with something really cool that fits the story, it's really interesting and fun and surprising. it's a pretty difficult, I'd say very significantly difficult design challenge to come up with cool stuff that meets all those requirements. So yeah, it's kind of why the game's taken 4.5 years to build.
Well, and what I found interesting in that too, what you said was, some of the things that you had in the first iterations, as you went along, you're like, you know what? We didn't know how to do that then, but now we can implement it now. And I think that's really fascinating. Yeah, that's really cool.
Totally. So one good example, or one clear example, is the Where's Waldo concept. One of the earliest prototypes is like a 2D animated painting, basically. And there's all these different characters or objects or vehicles in the scene, like a bunch of boats on the water, and they're moving left and right across the water. And as a 30-second moment in time, one of these boats would have a sail that would overlap with another triangle-shaped object at a different orientation, and the two triangles, when they overlap in 2D space, form a star. And so it was only this one moment in time when they overlapped that a star appeared in that position. And then if you click on the star, you get the star, and you've collected one of 10 stars in the scene. And that was basically the concept in that early day. That exact idea has been repurposed and reimagined in the final version of the game, where you have like a magician's cup kind of puzzle, where you've got 3 cups on the table and you put something inside one of them and you rearrange them. You have to track it. So that was kind of reimagined as that puzzle. You probably know the puzzle I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's where that reappeared in the game finally. So yeah, I mean, it lives on in a different form, but it's kind of still there in spirit.
Neat. Yeah, that's cool. And it's interesting because I think a lot of times when things don't go well, people just throw it away and don't ever look at the idea behind that. And it's neat to hear that how you were able to incorporate some of the ideas that maybe didn't work in the beginning, but as you grew and understood how the game worked, you were able to incorporate that. So cool.
Yeah. And with so few things being really cool in the game, it was really important to be able to figure out ways to take ideas that were almost there and to take a different view on it and see if you could possibly do it in a slightly different way that did actually turn into something really cool.
Yeah. One of the things I really liked about the game is how you're able to teach a mechanic in the game, and then, but without saying out in text, this is what you have to do, and then having the player be able to incorporate the mechanic in more challenging ways. How do you go about doing that? How do you structure level progression that will allow a player to understand the mechanics before making it more difficult for them and utilizing those same mechanics in more difficult puzzles?
It would be nice if I could say that we were geniuses and we just figured it out on paper. I think the real answer here is that we took our best guess. It was wrong. We put it in front of hundreds of people at events like PAX. We saw the things that weren't working, the things that people got stuck on and didn't understand, and then we rebuild the entire garden again in a different way. The couch garden was completely different the first time it was publicly shown. The garden with the clothesline that you hang all the clothes on, and there's like the balloons hanging from it, that looks completely different. That was about like a water fountain, I think, in the first public viewing. They go through constant iteration, and we have ideas about what we think will make the ideas flow and be easy to pick up on, but most of the time we were wrong. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's just, I think it's a story of like just a natural part of venturing far away from known genres or concepts in games. So I feel like this game has maybe not broken ground, but it's innovated in certain ways that make it not have too many parallels, or it was very difficult to draw inspiration from other games. Exactly. And because you're venturing further away, that makes it that much harder for you to figure out what exactly is going to work, what doesn't work, how to communicate it, what players will understand. Leveraging like existing knowledge that gamers have is harder the further you venture away as well. Like everyone who plays FPS games, who's played them before kind of knows shooting. So it's kind of convenient. Yeah. So I think in some ways that it became important, or it was very convenient that we had a heavy focus on story, because the story and the amazing, beautiful world that you've fallen into, and it's just like all lush and kind of satisfying to be in, that really helped to coax the player through the early phases where it's actually quite simple, I think.
Yeah.
And it gives you plenty to take in and soak in and be still quite really interested and fascinated with that world as you're sort of being drip fed some basic concepts. Yeah, if you strip back the game to a much simpler, like on paper version, which is actually how we design puzzles, as like a one-dimensional line with like notations for different objects that you interact with, it is ridiculously simple. So it's often a really hard part of the puzzle design process is the fact that on paper, the really good puzzles look way too simple, because it's like a line with 4 simple notations on it. You're like,
Yeah.
That's going to be boring. But then you put in the game, and it's dressed up with all this beautiful art, and it has so much more meaning and depth. And it's about noticing the details and noticing which of those 4 objects exist and how they might interact. And like, when you abstract it down just to notation, yeah, it's really kind of quite plain. But it's about how the world comes together and is cohesive and unified by all the art, the animation, the storytelling, and the game design, and sound, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of my favorite puzzles was the one with the couch and the popcorn goes flying up. And,
cool.
And it took me a little bit to figure out what I was supposed to do. I saw, I see this blanket covering up where the ball is, the light is, and I figured out, oh, this is what they want me to do here. It was like one of those moments that, I don't know, it made me feel like happy, I guess, like proud of myself that I was able to figure out this, but it was creative, and it wasn't just, hit you over the head with like what you're supposed to do. It was allowing you to be creative with the environment, and that's what I really loved about it.
Yeah, as much as possible we wanted to encourage that, definitely, to be creative, to notice what's in the garden, to think about what that could mean, how things might interact, and to explore and play with it. That was definitely something that we really wanted to encourage, for sure.
Nice. Well, I think you did a really wonderful job with that.
Thank you.
Going on to the story then. The story is a really big part of this, and you mentioned this already. It's beautifully told, yet there's no dialogue for any of the players to read. There's no conversation between the two characters. It's all through body language. What challenges did you have telling a story with no written text or no dialogue between the two characters?
Yeah, quite a few. For sure. The funny thing about making this game is that it is not fun or satisfying until all the details are in, which I guess is not actually funny to the developers themselves, because that's just torture. That you would go through like 6 weeks of development trying to put it all together, and it's still not fun. But as a designer, you have to have this like almost delusional faith that it's going to work to keep the team motivated and to keep everyone on board with the vision. And then when it does come together, it's magic. But like so many times, the puzzles wouldn't be fun until the characters were reacting to the world, responding to each other, having animations that made them feel like they were part of the scene and the scene was, alive. So oftentimes, the characters are following what's happening. They're looking at things that surprise them or jump out at them, or they might be looking at something that's curious or something they haven't seen before. And it's all those small details that take a lot of time and can only be done at the very end when everything else is in place that actually sort of make it immersive. And that's what draws you in, I think. And you need that kind of level of immersion and like curiosity and interest to draw you in there. And yeah, so we certainly had struggles in developing it all, but definitely from the start of the project, the aim has been to have a game without words and text, to have no menus, to have no HUD. It's a vision and a goal that Henrik really held high and thought that it's something that would make the game much more accessible and as I was talking about before, something that you can put yourself into more because it's less precise, it's left more blank space, negative space for you to insert yourself. And I think we can also refer to the fact that Henrik is Swedish, so minimalism, Swedish. It's kind of a perfect fit, isn't it?
I didn't know that was a trait. Is that a trait? No, it was really beautifully done. One thing that I wanted to ask you about was the constellations. So after end of each puzzle, you get pieces of the story put together, and then it forms like a constellation. You get to see this shared memory between both of them, and then it becomes a constellation. One thing that I took away from that was that this was almost like something that was bigger than both of the characters, and it was up in, but yeah, it's so far away. Like it's something that's bigger than both of them, something that's shared between both of them, but yet so far away that's out of their reach. What feelings did you want people to have when they saw these constellations? And because I mean, obviously there's some meaning behind that. What was I way off?
No, I think you're definitely touching on some themes there and aspects that we were really hoping that would be picked up. I think there was experiences of loss and grief in the team during the development that sort of had some impact on some of the story notes in there, and I think by trying to make a really genuine, heartfelt experience that drew heavily on our own personal experiences in life and our own personal memories, I think we naturally are sort of heading towards bigger life experiences, I guess, we'd shared. And so, early in the development, there were lots of conversations about childhood and what it meant and what we drew from it and what we learned from it and how those stories came about, and their significance. And I think that, that heavily inspired the way the game progressed and how it was built.
Yeah, it was really powerful, especially just having the sense that you look up at the sky and stories behind the constellations, and these kids are making their own stories to the constellations. It was just really beautifully done. So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a really neat twist.
Sure.
So so the artwork in the style of the game is really beautiful. What did you encounter, or did you encounter any issues implementing the artwork in the game? Was there ever discussion about maybe changing the artistic direction?
It really, all the credit there goes to, or the vast majority of the credit goes to Jonathan Swanson, who really spent the time over the 4 years constantly evolving that art style, and it went through many changes and evolutions over that time, but he just really kept at it, and it became very important work for him. And I think given the space to explore and develop his own skills, he just constantly kept evolving it. Like, it's actually his first game. He's never made a game before. He's a trained illustrator and continues to do illustration now for this game. But just really talented and switched on and able to learn new skills. So he learned how to write his own shaders. He learned how to, develop a whole lot of stuff that he'd never built before to be able to put that into the game and be able to execute on his vision. And then as he was learning and advancing those skills, he was constantly evolving the game. It was kind of like he used this as an opportunity to just constantly progress in his own sort of skill set, I guess, or in his own, artistic practice. And then this game was very personal to him, and he was heavily involved with all of the creative development. So I think, it's just a story of evolution and iteration. I don't have anything too more direct to say to that. I guess I can add one thing. There's a few important approaches that he took. One day, this came to the fore for us. Like, he was often working by himself, headphones on, and just making beautiful stuff, and no one would ever, question it because it just looked amazing every time he finished it. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it came to the fore one day, some of his processes that he had never really articulated and never had to before, which was how to make a garden beautiful. Because as a level designer, both Henrik and I were making these gardens, but we start with them on paper in a one-dimensional format, and then we put them into the game in a really rough, like gray box version that's just really, not artistic at all and just merely functioning. And then we, add a bit of the rocks and the fauna and stuff just to give it a sense of it being in our game. But we'd built this really complex garden, this really complex puzzle, which was the pulley puzzle with the the rope pulling up the pulley system to the top of the treehouse. And when we got that puzzle together, because it had so many components and so many moving parts, and it had this complex arrangement of ropes and pulleys and everything, it was just a mess. There was just stuff everywhere. It was definitely, you could say, ugly. And it looked nothing like, apart from using all our assets and apart from having like the iconic kind of like gradient backgrounds and, the water around it. Apart from that, it was not our game. It was like an abomination of our game. And he just looked at it and he said, I won't touch that. That's ridiculous. You cannot hand me this. I cannot make this beautiful. You've handed me a bomb and it just cannot be fixed. And we kind of we're at an impasse. We're like, well, I can't make it beautiful. I'm not an artist. And if you won't make it beautiful for me, then we'll never move beyond here. Like, what are we going to do? And it eventually we realized that, there were certain underlying kind of fundamental visual aesthetic approaches to building gardens that he had in the back of his mind at all times, and they would meet these certain requirements, but we weren't aware of them as puzzle designers. We were just making puzzles. And so he went away. You're a bit frustrated by us, obviously, because we were just like, whoa, we don't know what to do. And he wrote down some notes, and he came back with this like one A4 cheat sheet of how to make a garden beautiful. And it's just clearly laid out a series of fundamental ideas that instantly we could see how to make this garden beautiful and keep the puzzle working. And it was simply that one of the most important ideas is that he took inspiration from Japanese rock gardens, where you remove as many details as possible to the point where it's as simple as possible and as minimal as possible. And also the rock gardens, Japanese rock gardens, I can't pronounce the Japanese name, but it always conforms to like a nice symmetrical design, using heavy use of a pyramid kind of shape, and maybe a few of them overlapping at different sizes, but always pulling towards a central kind of pyramid shape overall. And if you look at our gardens, they all follow this basic format. And that's because he was drawing inspiration from thousands of years of Japanese rock gardens evolving, and he just basically lifted those ideas and applied it to our game. And he was doing that because the player will spend sometimes up to half an hour in a garden trying to solve a puzzle. I mean, in a really difficult puzzle, you could be. And you're going backwards and forwards over just 30 seconds of game, right? Or 30 seconds of animation. So you don't want it to feel frustrating. You don't want it to feel annoying. You want it to be peaceful and calming and be able to spend the time in there and just enjoy being there. Even if haven't currently solved it, you still feel quite nice about being there, and it's quite a enjoyable experience. And so that's where he started pulling inspiration from these rock gardens. And then he put it on an A4, and we're like, oh, I can do that. Sure, I'll put it into pyramid shape. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because I think that was the one other thing I was talking about with my co-host about this game, is the fact that, all these puzzles, I never felt frustrated. I enjoyed being, like you said, in the garden, in the puzzle. I never felt like angry or frustrated, and maybe it's partly because of the artwork and the music too. But I mean, it has some calming effects to the artwork. So
yeah, exactly, and that's what a rock garden is meant to do. And I think also just being in nature as much as you're looking at a computer screen, but you have this sense of immersion inside a natural space, imaginary, surreal kind of world. And it is a garden. There's flora and fauna. Do we have any? fauna. We did at one point have a fish, but I don't know if the fish is in the game anymore. Or the fish is in the game anymore.
I don't remember seeing any fish, but
but then the little jumping box guy,
yes.
We'll call him one.
Yeah, I the other thing I will say about the game too is that there's no enemies in the game. Even the dark flowers, if you will, that suck the light aren't necessarily bad, because a lot of times you have to use that mechanic to get past a certain area. I found that really fascinating, that there's no... And maybe that's part of it too, is that I didn't feel like I was ever fighting against somebody. It was more of journeying forward, so...
Yeah, I think that makes games more accessible. Not having fail states, not having time pressure, not having complex menus or complex HUD, complex buttons to remember as well. All of those goals really should be given credit to Henrik for initially setting out some of these goals in the early days of the project, which I absolutely agree with all of them. And that was a great vision of his, to be able to reduce it down to such a simple set. And yeah, it really does help to relieve you of stress, I guess, not knowing that all the information you need is always there in front of you, and it's not some complicated thing you have to remember. It's just you need to take your time and observe and notice the details and think about how they fit together.
Yeah. So the game is on 3 different platforms right now. It's on Steam, PlayStation 4, and the Switch. What were some hurdles that you faced when committing to concurrently releasing across 3 different platforms?
It's also on the Mac App Store, so it's actually...
Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's there too. That's okay. To be honest, it's not as hard as you would think. The different platforms are largely simplified down or abstracted away for us by the game engine that we use, which is Unity, and it does most of the heavy lifting on a technical side. So really, there wasn't a huge amount of work, technically. They're all quite similar, and they manage users in the same way, and we don't have any online features, so the game doesn't ever need to talk to the internet at all. It's really quite a simple game, I guess, in that sense. So the technical aspects weren't too onerous, but it's more the publishing that was new to us and difficult, or at least threw a lot of challenges our way that we weren't necessarily familiar with or knew how to overcome. So getting it onto the PlayStation, getting it onto the Switch is really much more complicated than platforms we'd been on in the past, just because they have different regions that all expect different things and have different requirements, and the licensing concerns with like PEGI and ESRB and IARC and getting ratings. That's a new detail that we had to think about. And then, just basically the publishing side of things was a lot more work. We had been told, fortunately, that was going to be 2 to 3 months work of our time just to get it published. And it was easily. Wow. So fortunately, we had the game finished maybe 3 months ahead of time, and then had the ability just to focus then on getting it published. And that really helped a lot. So that was a blessing to have been given that advice ahead of time.
Nice. And one of the things that Christian wanted to ask was, how hard was it? Christian's one of our co-hosts, by the way. How hard was it to get a platinum trophy? Because he's a platinum hunter. How hard was it to get the platinum trophy into the PS4 version of the game?
Yeah, right. Hi, Christian. He's obviously very technically, it's just another kind of tick box, right? You need to just you need the difficulty there is having a good reason for it. Like, why does the player want to chase this down? What's your motivation for wanting to add it to the game? And is there value in having it in the game? And so, so we spent some decent time trying to think about what makes good achievements. And with a game like ours, it doesn't make any sense. And it's something we definitely wanted to avoid having, was grindy type achievements, ones with counters and, you have to do this X number of times, or like really complex things, or things that could stress you out because you can only do it once or the first time through, or anything like that. So we wanted the achievements to feel natural and appropriate to the game, but also a little bit about discovery or exploration and playing with the game and seeing, pushing its limits maybe, or exploring other ways of doing things. So coming up with unique achievements that felt important and relevant and appropriate, I suppose, was the real challenge there. And then adding an extra one or adding enough to get to a platinum. Once we had the right kind of concepts, that wasn't too difficult to get to the point of having a platinum. We had a lot more debate over which should be the gold and which should be the silver.
Yeah.
Within the team. Yeah, Matt and I had quite a few debates over that. I think he won that one. But yeah, trying to decide like what is, should the difficult ones be gold, or should the like more satisfying, like you get them along the way, they're more like significant standout moments of the game. Like how do you determine what is the most appropriate gold trophy?
And I haven't played I played the Switch version. Which who won that debate then? Matt, you said, and which is that? Is it gonna be the more difficult or the more rewarding?
Well, yeah, the ones that are along the typical path, but still they need to be found. They're not like, I'm not giving away what they are, but once you've found one, you'll probably find them all, I guess. And they have a cute little funny moment attached to them. They all the achievements actually do kind of exist in the Switch version. It's just you don't get the little banner to say you got it. So the moments will still happen. And there's still the unique things to find, but no feedback loops. On the other hand, the Switch has obviously the portability, but it also has the rumble, which would put a fair bit of time trying to get that right. You wanted to not break that relaxing feel, but also give this really satisfying sense of tactility and feedback and bringing the world to life through the touch. So that was quite an interesting challenge, and lots of internal discussions about that one. At least I won that one, I think. I won that against Matt. That's why I have to bring it up, because I got to even the score. I can't let that win. He's not even here. He doesn't even know he's winning.
Yeah. Nice. What are some impressions that you want people to have, or feelings that you want people to have from the game? I mean, I certainly have a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts, and I think that the greatest thing for me is that have other people play this and have conversations with them. But what are some feelings you want people, or impressions you want people to have of the game?
A lot of it is coming back to us, which is a great satisfaction, I guess, relief, because we weren't necessarily sure that all the small details in the game would come together in a cohesive way to really strongly communicate the story and the meaning and the depth behind the story, I guess. Like, we only had those specific memory moments in the game maybe like 3 months from finishing the game. So we'd been working on it for like 3.5 years almost, or 4 years, before we could actually see our story in the game and confirm that it was satisfying to see, and it worked, and it made sense in the greater structure. Like all of these question marks were around the story for so long. And then once you've seen it, I mean, we knew exactly what the story was, even when we first saw it in the game. So did it communicate correctly? And then could you see the personality of the characters come through in the way they behave and react to each other and the environment? Could you tell what kind of person Arena was, and could you tell what kind of person Front was just based on their behaviors? That all those question marks around how well those details would come off were really just hard to know. I think you have to have a lot of faith, and I guess for me, I'm not I was very much relying upon everybody else in the team for those kind of details. I'm not as much of a storyteller myself. I'm more of a mechanical game designer about designing systems. So yeah, I guess maybe I am the only person who was nervous about it. Maybe they were all certain, but for me that was really nice to see that coming across, because there was a huge amount of effort put into that, and I wanted to carry that vision across in the things that I did in the game as well. So I was really hoping that it did work. Yeah. And that, I mean, it has,
certainly
like, people,
think it did.
yeah, totally. And people, I've had people say that they were wanting to call long lost friends after seeing the game, and someone wants to get a tattoo because it meant quite a bit to them. Like people crying. I watched a streamer play the game with my parents, and we all cried as the game was finished. It really did come together, and worked really well.
Yeah, it's very emotional. What does success look like for you for this game?
creatively, I think without a doubt we've made something really special and unique that will handle the test of time. What's the saying there? It will
stand the test of time.
Stand the test. Thank you. That's simple. I was looking for a big word. Stand.
Stand is the word.
Yeah. And because I think the further you do venture from that known quantity, the more it stands out, and the longer it can stay relevant, and stay unique, and stay fresh. Like the games that still feel really awesome from a long time ago do have that kind of unique trait to them that maybe can't be necessarily recreated. And I think that we've definitely captured that. And I think that I certainly felt from the early days that we were going to be able to pull that off, to be able to bring together the art, the design, the game design, the music and the storytelling into a unified whole. And I could see how in this structure that we were building, that was really, really possible. And so I've always had a lot of faith in the game. And I think that we're getting the feedback that says that did actually come together really well. And that, for me, that's absolutely ticking all the boxes that we set out to tick. That's creative success, absolutely. That's been awesome to hear that from everyone, from players and journalists alike, getting amazing reviews and stuff. And financial, well, I think it's a bit early to tell. It's definitely not blown up like I hoped. I mean, we all hope. It's doing well, definitely, and I think it will prove to have good word of mouth and good long tail because it is unique. It won't be forgotten for that reason. But yeah, I guess just these days there are a lot of games out there, and it's really hard to I don't know, to be the breakout hit, right? Like it's 1 in a million chance that you'll be the next, you name it, the next Minecraft or the next I don't know, other famous game. Journey or
sure.
Monument Valley. Like they're very few and far between.
Well, it's interesting to say that because I think to me this game reminded me a lot of Journey in regards to how I felt after the game. And it's a fresh air for sure. This game compared to, not saying that there's a lot of games out there that are a lot of cookie cutters, and this is very original, and I really appreciate that. So
yeah. That for me, hearing that is what makes it worthwhile, right? Like that's something that we absolutely set out to do with every game, and I think we've pushed much harder and further, and we're much more ambitious with how unique and original we were trying to be in this game, and to hear that definitely makes it feel like a successful project, I think, and feel worthwhile.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What's next for Voxel Agents then?
Well, we're all taking breaks at this point, and as much as possible. I think I've probably got the most on my plate because I'm doing lots of marketing and publishing side of things. Matt and I are planning to start working on a new game soon, but we're first going to update Train Conductor, which is our previous mobile title, because players are desperate. Every time I post anything on social media, the first comment is, "When's my Train Conductor update?" Like it's a picture of Gardens Between. Like, where's my Train Conductor? I'm sorry. Yeah, I know it's been a long time. It's hard. It's your small studio. Like, you can't do too many things at once. And definitely to finish this game, we needed everyone. We needed 100% focus to get it done. Yeah. Like, it was, when you get to, like, almost 4 years of development, you're like, what are we doing? Are we ever going to finish this game? Yeah. So it was, necessary. But now we're returning to that, and we'll definitely be doing a few updates. We've got lots of cool stuff we want to do there. And then we basically moved to like a film production model where it effectively goes back to Matt and I as a studio, and we are going to design the next game, come up with the basic concepts, and try and put it through as much of the design and development process to get grips on what we're building, because the next game, of course, will be unique and different and strange and weird, and there'll be a few parallels most likely, and so we'll have to try and do all the creative work of figuring out what works and what doesn't. what's necessary and so forth. And so after it's been through that process, I guess that's when we'll start scaling up, thinking about what kind of people would best complement that production. So in the same way that film generally hires people for the project, that's what we're going to be doing in the future. So yeah, I guess that gives us more flexibility, the potential for us to go anywhere, because you can pull on the people that you need at the time. So that's kind of exciting, I think. Gives us a lot less pressure during that design development phase when you're trying to figure out what you're doing, when you're just tearing your hair out because you feel like sometimes you're spinning your wheels, like you're not actually understanding better yet. You're doing a lot of work and you're exploring a lot of ideas and you're going through iterations 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
But, you haven't quite got a grasp on what it will become. You don't know for sure what it will be in the end. And I think having a bigger team can be stressful in that moment, because you're trying to work with people, manage people, keep a business running, like have enough money coming in to keep those people employed, right? And that can be really stressful when you're also trying to solve this really complex creative design problem. So yeah. Anyway, I don't know. That's just a long-winded way of saying we're not sure.
Well, I'm excited for whatever comes next. Yeah. Simon, thank you so much for taking your time with meeting with me today. How can people get a hold of you, or how can people follow the Voxel Agents?
Best place is Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can go to any of those and type in the Voxel Agents, or twitter.com/THEVOXELAGEMTS. And it's the same on all three of them. So hit us up there, and check out what we're up to and all the cool new things that are coming to some of our games.
Nice. And listeners, you can get this game now. It is on Steam, Mac Store, and Switch and PS4. So if you're looking for a unique experience and something that's different than anything else out there, and a heavy story with a lot of meaning behind it, you need to get this game. It's definitely worth your time. Thank you again, Simon, so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was a good chat.
Thanks. All right. Thanks, listeners. We'll talk to you next week.
Christian, I was waiting for you to do a voice.
Oh, man. Mama, we miss you.
Oh. It'll never make its way to the podcast, though.
You did one in the middle of recording.
I did. It was an accident. I probably shouldn't have done it, but I could tell the seething hatred that built up in Roger's voice as soon as I said it. And that's how I knew I goofed up.
That's funny.